Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. And there's not much left in the off season, but we still have a lot to talk about today. I, of course, am your host, Mark Williams. 73 days away from November 9th, boys. It is unbelievable. It's coming around the corner. Joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. John Falkowski.
Yeah, we're a little over a week and change from football, and we are maybe about 2 to 3 weeks from training camp. So this is the good time of the year that's coming back around.
Yeah, and we're joined, of course, by the third member of the Triforce, Mr. Anthony Duclair of the Hockey News.
I'm thinking, should I shave my beard for this segment, or
and a very proper lead in for that, because the A Block guys, it is a bit of a week old for this story. Everybody, make sure you are subscribed, hit the like button, and hit the bell for us. But the A Block coming at you with a bit of controversy that happened Thursday morning, and all of us kind of looked at it with a, really? This is what's happening? The A Block is powered by SeatGeek. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey for more, and $20 off on your first order. And guys, the controversy erupted really online and in the Twitter spaces and in all over social media, where Anthony Duclair puts the clips of him cutting his hair on there, the picture. And everybody starts condemning Lou Lamoriello and this policy. Anthony, I'm going to start with you. Does Lou have to change his policy?
Well, first off, this only became a story because Gord Miller from TSN retweeted the picture of Duclair's cut locks, and tried to. And I know Gord Miller's been around a long time. I mean, he's been a guy that I've watched for a long time, and he tried to essentially almost bring it with this woke type left, try to make it about race. And like, it was just, and it was just interesting because Lou Lamoriello has made you shave your beard or cut your hair, no matter what creed you are, no matter what color, etc. It's never been about that. It's been a non-story. I mean, where were these people when Matt Martin had to cut his flowing locks? Where were these people when they acquired Robert Bortuzzo, who, gentlemen, you guys know, he's been known for that thick beard? Where were they when they acquired him and he had to shave his beard? It has nothing to do with any beliefs or any race. Duclair willingly knew what he was getting involved with when he signed with the New York Islanders. He knows the expectations. Everybody in that room, as I mentioned in that tweet that day, they buy into it. They have no problem with it. So for me, this was a non-story that, a particular reporter tried to just stir up controversy by bringing, again, I know we don't like to talk about race politics here, but he tried to bring race and politics in his culture. And I thought it wasn't in good taste. Now, if you want to say that his rule in general is archaic and he needs to conform with the times, that's kind of like a separate conversation that we can have and we can debate on. But as far as if Lou was did something wrong by making Duclair cut his hair, it was just laughable. This is his rules. The New York Yankees, I mean, George Steinbrenner has done it forever, which is no coincidence. Lou Lamoriello and George Steinbrenner got to know each other pretty well back when Lou Lamoriello was managing the New Jersey Devils, and they formed a friendship. And Lou kind of adopted his similar style, and then ran with it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having the expectation you want your organization to be run a certain way. Again, you can debate if it's outdated or if he should still do it. But that's a different topic. But before I kind of hand it off to you guys, I will say, though, over the last couple of years, he has loosened the purse strings, if you want to call it a little bit. He now allows players to wear like a golf shirt to a game. They don't have to wear the tie anymore. So he's relaxed some stuff. Jewelry is allowed. So there's some things that he's kind of scaled back a little bit, but his principles that he goes by, clean shaven, no high jersey numbers, and all that, it is what it is. And when people sign with the New York Islanders, they know what they're buying into.
Phil, what's your thoughts on this? Because I'm very much in favor of everything Anthony just said, and I'm going to expand on that in a minute.
I mean, I'm not really in favor of it per se. I mean, I do think a lot of it is archaic and outdated, and there needs to be a change. I mean, I can appreciate the scaling back a little bit and going to like golf shirts or polos or whatever you want to call them. I can appreciate having a level of professionalism that has to be kept and stood up to, but it's something that I think needs to be modified a little bit. But with that said, I don't think there was any hint of racism or anything like that's in there. This has been something it's a tale as old as time. This has been going on forever with Lou Lamoriello. And Anthony mentioned the whole friendship with George Steinbrenner. George Steinbrenner obviously has run the Yankees since the 72 when I think he brought the team. The Steinbrenners have had control of the team since I think 72 when he brought it from CBS. But it's over 50 years now. The Yankees have been ran like this, and the Devils have been ran like this for I want to say at least 25, if not 30, 35 years, something like that, since Lamoriello took over. But it's nothing new. It really isn't. And as others have said it in the chat, I mean, Mike, you just flashed a comment from him before. Duclair could have signed elsewhere. He knew what he was signing up to. I don't think, you know what's funny? I really don't think Duclair was trying to cause any controversy. I think he was having fun with it. And I think he was being like, oh no, my hair's gone. Yeah. Well, there's going to be a new me, I think he was just having a little fun with it. And then it got taken out of proportion there. And there was no need for that. But yeah, old news. Archaic, yes. Needs to change, yes. Racist, no, absolutely not. Because you can name all the guys that have had great flow in the past that have had to cut their hair, whether as Devils or Islanders or Maple Leafs. I mean, Nat Martin went from Lou Lamoriello in Toronto to Lou Lamoriello in the Island. He had to do it twice. He literally had to do it twice. So if there's anyone we can ask about it, it's Nat Martin probably. Anthony, if you could pull strings on that one, that'd be amazing. But yeah, it nothing racist about this. Non-story at this point. But yeah, Mark, I'll hand it to you.
Actually, you know what? I know, Anthony, you're under a time crunch. So I'll come back with my opinion on this in a second. But is Lou kind of misunderstood, Anthony? Because everybody's just like, oh, he's just a tyrant. He's just trying to get people under his thumb or whatever. But there's some story. There's a story you're going to tell us right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think certainly, and I sent you the comments, Mark. So I don't know if you loaded them up, but you could flash them. But yeah,
got that one right there.
Jordan Eberle. I don't know if you have the other part of it, but it was right during COVID when the league shut down. His daughter was just born, and he was trying to get back home to Canada, and he didn't have any documentation yet for his daughter. So he tried a bunch of things, got nowhere, and he basically said that he just figured at this point he's like, let me just call Lou Lamoriello because these players entrust him that he knows people and he could get things done, and he called Lou. Mark, do you have the other quote? Because I don't want to misquote, but he said he called Lou. He told him what was going on, and a day later he got a phone call from the governor of the state of Washington, and he was allowed to fly. and
How
go.
does he have that pull?
So yeah,
Because that's Lou. He's got that pull. That's the simplest way to say it with him. And yeah, Anthony, I wanted to get you to tell the story because you could tell it so much better with some humanity. But that's what the thing about what Lou can do. And I think a lot of people focus on the haircutting thing and go, oh, he's just being this, he's being that. But all right. well, there was a lot of grays in that beard this year. Yeah,
you know, the point in that story is just Everly trying to say that, you know, Lou Lamoriello cares about his players and he'll go the extra mile. I mean, how many general managers in the sport have any pull or even way of helping with something like that? You know, it's out of the realm of their job description. And the fact that Lou Lamoriello held that pull and was able to do that just kind of speaks volumes to, you know, how he takes care of his players. And, you know, Mark, that quote from Stefan Rosner from the Hockey News when he was just speaking to Matt Martin. You know, Matt Martin was talking about the situation with him, and he talked about, you know, how good of a person that Lou Lamoriello is. And I don't know if Mark, you're trying.
Actually, I don't have that one because I didn't have that one. Sorry.
I could probably get it here, but
it was the
Is it
first phone call.
Twitter?
Oh, he's one of the first phone calls I would make if I ever really needed something. He certainly deserves more positive press than he's getting.
Yeah. So Matt Martin saying he would be the first phone call if he really needed something. Again, the guy cares about his players. He'll go the extra mile. And from everybody I have talked to that knows the guy, doesn't say a bad word about him. He's a very nice guy. I mean, yeah, he has that aura about him. So I guess, you know, people can, you know, maybe assume that maybe he's a little abrasive, but from all accounts, he's a really nice guy. You know, and again, he really cares about his players. He goes the extra mile. I mean, some will say it's meticulous and, you know, it's almost military like, but he wants everything to be a certain way. You know, I forget who was telling me, you know, somewhat recently, but he was talking about even when it comes down to the food spread before a game when they're on the road at the hotel, Lou will go through it and literally inspect it and make sure that everything is up to his standards. So, and that's just because he wants the best for his players. You know, he's not going to accept, you know, a lower rate of service for his athletes, for the guys that play for his team. So I think he's, you know, I mean, I don't think anybody who's played for him would say a bad word about him, but from everybody, I mean, Jim Dowd, when we had him on, Jim Dowd had nothing but good things to say about Lou Lamoriello. And I just think he's one of those guys. He expects a lot from you, but at the same time, he'll always have your back.
I was just going to say he's demanding, but he seems like the type that when you give, like, he gives back to you, especially if you're a good soldier. Like, he's going to give back to you. So that's what I've heard. I mean, obviously Jimmy Dowd was very nice to come on with us and explain that as well. So, I mean, we have a firsthand source to be able to get that information from, thankfully. But yeah, I agree with you. I just think it's a case of, you know, expecting a lot because he's willing to give a lot in return. So you give and you get.
And Rats, I didn't get the Instagram feed going until just now. But guys, I mean, going from what you're saying, yeah, 100% on this. First off, by the way, let me talk about the haircutting policy. I worked in restaurants for the last 20 years and a bar. Even though it's kind of funny because I'm actually got some scruff right now because I haven't shaved in about 6 days. Yes, this is how slow my hair grows in. But I was always clean shaven every single day when I had to go to work at ESPN Zone or wherever I had to work. And currently right now with my job, I mean, I'm one of the senior bartenders and I constantly have to look at guys going, you gonna tuck in your shirt? You gonna tuck in your shirt? You look like Schlepp. Nobody from the New Jersey Devils back in Lou's day ever looked like a Schlepp. Nobody from the Islanders when his days are there, and for the Maple Leafs when they're there. And guys actually kind of crave these things. When I was on the road, we played in London with a tournament. I kept up a dress code. that I had back in my juniors days. And it's just, sometimes it's just stuff that makes you feel, it makes you feel better. You might be like, oh, it's a pain in the ass, but so what? And everybody wants to say it's archaic. Well, the first thing every drill sergeant says is that you need to make your bed when you're in the Army. And I always find that to be pointless, but still, it's like an accomplishment. They always say you accomplish something during the day. Like that's what an accomplishment is. I don't get it, but this is one that I would say, look, you have a good appearance. Just keep going with it. Hockey players are great with this because you look at other leagues that don't have dress codes anywhere. Players come in, you think they just came off the streets. Like that's how they look. And it's just that's not the way to do it. And as far as Lou's policy goes, if my boss is telling me cut my hair, be clean shaven, I'm going to cut my hair and be clean shaven. And for Gord Miller, sorry, let me strike Gord Miller's name out of there. For the internet to say, oh, this is all because of this reason. If you wanted to make a special exemption for it, then you're treating somebody special, and that's preferential treatment. It's about the team, and then that weakens Lou's position.
You know, there's actually from that article I was saying about Eberle, I didn't send you, but I pulled it up. There's another quote I wanted to read just because, you know, it's funny. But in reference to Lou, Eberle said he just kind of has a presence about him. I mean, you could go from the Godfather to John Dutton in Yellowstone. He has just this aura about him that you just love, this respect factor. So those are pretty. I mean, it kind of goes with the thing people in the media joke about. You know, he's a boss. He's a Godfather. You know, compared him to John Dutton, Yellowstone. These are guys that are held in a higher elevated regard that everybody respects. And, you know, they make the decisions. And the same thing. If you do the right thing, he will always have your back. And I think that's something that you want. You want to be able to, if you're getting a pinch, to call up your general manager because you know that he'll be able to get an answer for you or get you back home in Eberle's case. So, yeah, aside from his rules, I think everybody in the game respects him.
I think even with the rules, they expect that. And you know what? If you don't respect them because of the rules, you're welcome to sign elsewhere. You don't have to be here. Now, and again, just as Phil said, Anthony Duclair wasn't trying to ignite a controversy. He was just trying to be like, look, guys, I cut my hair.
So I want to hear his side. I really do. And I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to hear his side because we haven't heard a peep from him about this. And I have a feeling that he'd come out and he'd be like, I don't really have a problem with it. I was just posting a picture and having fun. I really have a feeling that he would say that. But, you know, we live in an age where people want to make controversy out of things instead of actually critically thinking about them. So here we are.
And you're right about that, Phil, because look, everybody's jumping to this conclusion. Anthony Duclair hasn't said anything. He hasn't protested. And by the way, I think I would have questions. It's like, so you knew what the policy was and you signed there anyway. That would be what I would ask. But again, Anthony Duclair, there's a story out or a tweet somebody said that he was playing with Anders Lee. He got his haircut and he goes, "Hey, I look good with short hair." I heard that. There's no confirmation on it, but
he's had short hair before, and with the Panthers, he had short hair. It wasn't until
Rangers.
Yeah, it wasn't until recently that he had his hair like that. So it's not like this thing he's had his whole life. So again, it's just people trying to make a story about nothing. And yeah,
your better half is pretty smart, Mark.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm marrying her.
Yeah, I mean, Lou has no reason to speak on it. He doesn't care what anybody's saying. I mean, he does not care one bit. It's his rules, and you know, if you don't like it, then tough.
And again, that's Lou at his best. Lou is very steadfast, stoic. He doesn't change with the wind. He doesn't change on a whim. He doesn't do anything because the fans are bitching. You know, he's a living example of the line. Hey, if you listen to the fans, you'll be sitting with the fans. If you heard that for GM. So There's a reason why he's been in hockey for almost 40 years, from Providence College all the way to now. So, and why I consider him the best American general manager and the best American hockey mind ever. So, Anthony, you got a couple more minutes?
Yeah, because I'm actually not leaving until my wife gets home rather than meeting her. So I have until when she comes home. So we're good.
All right. Well, we did have a great tweet from Mr. Anthony Rocco this week. I will get that tweet. I'll put it up there in a minute on players that he thinks that are locked for the Hall of Fame. But we got some that we want to talk about to see whether or not they're in. Here's a couple impulsive reactions.
Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're one on the phone.
Chill. Simmer down now.
I'm freaking out.
Because here's a little bit of a B block. We're going to call this, like I said, it's our impulsive reactions on this. We're just going to go with our reactions. And are these players Hall of Fame worthy or not? You're going to say either Hall yes or all Hall no. So actually it's O Hall no. So I'm sorry. O Hall no. So I have to correct that now. So
I'm not even bothered with the gaff. It's corny. I'm not
Yeah.
yeah, it's great.
I get what you're going for, but it's corny. I can't see myself saying that.
All right. Well, you can always say Hall no. So let's start with this one. And our first one on the list, Claude Giroux. 1,182 games played, 350 goals, 716 assists. Currently, 1,066 points, no major awards, and he was a one-time All-Star. Phil, we were at that game, and he won the All-Star MVP. And is Claude Giroux Hall of Famer?
Yes.
But before, sorry to cut you off, Phil. You didn't, because Phil brought this up in our private chats too, and I think it's worth noting. It's also the Hall of Fame for international accolades, and Claude Giroux has international accolades.
Thank you, because I needed somebody to bring up what the international accolades are.
Yeah, so he's got 3 golds at 3 different levels internationally. 2008 World Juniors, 2000, I think 15 or 14 World Championships, and then he also won gold with the Canadian team in the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. So, I think he's going to get in based not only on that, but the fact that he's probably going to end his career with maybe around 1,300 points. So, it's not just the NHL Hall of Fame. It is the International Ice Hockey Hall of Fame, the IIHF. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of fans seem to forget when it comes to these players. And I've been guilty of it too over the years. So,
Anthony, go ahead.
So, our viewer Patrick says no, but so he's like, I feel like there's a couple of benchmarks for the Hall of Fame that's not always, it's not set in stone, but he's got over 1,000 points. He has gold medals. He hasn't won a major award, but I believe Giroux has been a Hart finalist, correct? Claude Giroux has been a Hart finalist.
I think
before.
Twice. Let me just pull that up for you.
I think in 2018, I think he was a Hart finalist. He was one of those years, either that or 2012. I think he was up there as well.
He has
Hart finalist in 2014. Sorry, and Hart. Oh no, he was 4th in 2018.
So 1. But he's also he owns a 100-point season. He owns a couple of 90-point seasons. Like you said, he's over 1,000 points. The gold medals. So Mark, I'm gonna say yes too. I'm gonna say Giroux gets in. Obviously, if he wins a Stanley Cup, which he's playing with Ottawa, so I don't know if he'll realize that or not. But I think that would be kind of like the icing on a cake. Because at this point in his career, I don't see him winning a major award anymore. But it's a good resume. And I'll say he gets in, but then again, I think it wouldn't be first ballot, and it may take a little bit of time. But he might. I mean, look at Pierre Turgeon.
That's what I was just gonna say. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I hate you.
Pierre Turgeon's in the Hall of Fame, and he's a similar type of player to Giroux.
One award for Pierre Turgeon. Does anybody know what that award is?
Lady Byng.
Yep.
Correct. 92, 93.
Yep.
Yeah. And going with what you guys are saying, yeah, I gotta put him in. He's had a very underrated career when you're starting to look at it. You looked at that 2012 season, you thought he was going to erupt. He still turned in a really good career. Only had 100-point career. One season, 100-point season in his career. Eventually, the sentence got out, and that was in 2017, 2018. But you do look at his contributions in Team Canada. Look, that's the way a lot of these guys, they end up getting in. And the hard part is you want to get everybody in. You don't want to just, you want to keep everybody out. You want to put people in that are going to have significance. And he's had a good career. I'm leaning a little bit. I would lean a little bit towards no, but I do have to say Hall, yeah, for what he's got. Because let's go to another guy that's up in Canada, started his career out here in Long Island, but John Tavares, 1,100 games, 456 goals, 584 assists, 1040 points, no major awards. He was a Hart finalist twice, and a one-time All-Star, which I don't think that's right. I mean, they said it on Hockey Reference, but Anthony, John Tavares, a Hall of Famer.
Well, I'm not going to be a hypocrite if I say Giroux's going to get in. It's a similar situation, over 1,000 points. Tavares actually might get the 500 goals. Giroux has more assists, but Tavares might reach 500 goals, which could help. And he has the Olympic accolades. He has the gold medals. But here's the only difference, which again, you guys tell me how much it matters or not. But the difference between Tavares and Giroux is Tavares doesn't have a 100-point season. Tavares doesn't even have a 90-point season. That's really the biggest difference between Giroux and Tavares. But, I mean, if you're going to say Giroux is going to get in with those numbers, then you kind of have to say Tavares is going to get in. So I'll say yes. But, again, same vein as Giroux, it won't be first ballot, and it could end up being borderline, but I'm going to go with yes in this case.
Guys, can you just help me figure this out? Why is it Hockey Reference will put on the top one-time All-Star, then you go down to All-Star games and you see 6?
I think that's first-team All-Star references.
Okay. So Phil, go ahead.
It is a little confusing. I do agree with you there, but if you're letting, am I going? I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Tavares. I think he's going to be a lock. And the reason I say this is because I think he's going to end his career with somewhere close to 550 goals. He may even challenge for 600. I think he's going to probably end with over maybe around 1,300, maybe even more points than that. And he's got I think it's 5 gold medals, isn't it? In international play? Yeah, it's 5. So he won he won with Sochi, even though he was injured during that tournament, which really kind of cost the Islanders their season that year. He's won 2 gold medals for the World Juniors in 08 and 09. And he's one of the top, I would say one of the top 20 most decorated junior performers of all time. I mean, this guy had an incredible junior career, especially at the World Juniors. He won the Canada Cup in 2016, and he won a Spengler Cup in 2012. So he's got so many international accolades. He's definitely getting in. I could even see it on first try. I really could, because by the time his career ends, his numbers are going to be a lot better. He's going to crack 600 assists next year, which is big. And likely, if he stays healthy, he'll crack 1,100 points as well next year. So I don't think he's done. I think he's got a few really good years left in him, and he's going to have some very, very good numbers, plus that international success.
And I know what Anthony was saying about 89. He hasn't gotten to 90 points. He has gotten to 88 and 86. And if I'm reminded correctly, Jamie Benn beat him on the last day, and Jamie Benn didn't have 90 points either that year.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Jamie Benn had 87 points. It was that year, and he won the Art Ross by scoring a hat trick and a goal, an assist on the last day.
Right.
Yeah.
So and his junior stuff too. On top of it, I got to go all for John Tavares because, and I'm sorry everybody, I got the behind the banner, but you look at his career in total. I still think he's never going to get his due as a New York Islander, and it's a shame because how he left. Because hopefully one day they can mend that fence. It ain't going to be tomorrow. I know that, but he really put up great numbers during dark times for the Islanders, kind of brought them back to relevancy. I mean, I'm being too harsh in the way I'm saying it. I'm just trying to boost them up a little bit.
I don't think so. I think
but then he leaves, and then the Islanders have their greatest era of prosperity since the 90s. So, and actually the early 2000s with Laviolette, they were great then too. Really good, and again underrated. But Tavares, I think definitely gets in. One guy that me and Anthony kind of split on this. We talked about this privately. Brad Marchand. Do you think he's a Hall of Famer, Phil?
You know what? Like his run really started from like 2016 till like now. Like he was a late bloomer, and I always look back to what they say about baseball, like their requirements to get into the Hall of Fame. Usually they say anywhere from like 8 to 10 like Hall of Fame level years. I mean, you would say Marchand has pretty much had that since 2016. No, I mean he has that. I mean, he's got 400 career goals. He's got a gold at the World Cup of Hockey 2016. He wasn't on the 2014 Sochi team because he really wasn't a real established player by then. But, I mean, it's a very good player. It's a very good player. But he's got World Championship gold also in 2016. World Junior gold in 2007 and 2008. So
he's going to be over 1,000 points too.
He'll be over 1,000 points probably by the end of this year.
Yeah,
I can't imagine him scoring less than 71 points. I mean, unless he gets injured or something.
Yeah,
he'll likely hit the 500 goal mark by the time his career is over. I mean, he is older now that I think about it. He's 36. Oof.
100 goals, 36. I mean,
here's my thing. He reminds me of Marty St. Louis in career trajectory, like minus the MVP and the Art Ross and the 90. He has a 100 point season like Marty did. So it's kind of tough for me to say that Marty St. Louis shouldn't be in, but Brad Marchand shouldn't as well. I mean, I think if one gets in, I think the other, because I think the numbers are going to be very close when you look at them. And
just to make one reference to Marty St. Louis, he won his MVP in a defensive era.
Yeah, and he won it in one of the lowest scoring seasons in recent memory, where there wasn't a 100 point score.
Yeah. If I recall, he's like since the draft era and since the WHA merger, he's the only undrafted MVP. I mean, obviously Gretzky too, but I mean, right?
Since the merger, I mean,
I'm slowing us down a little bit. Sorry.
Or Mark.
I got
Bobby Orr.
All right. Well, there you go. So
Yeah, because he was never drafted.
so so Hall, yeah, or Hall, no.
Marty St. Louis has 391 goals and 1,033 points in 1,134 games. Marchand scores like 80 points this year. I mean, he's going to have about 1,110 games and, 1,010 points. Those are pretty close numbers. And he's got more goals than Marty. So, you know what? I'm going to have to go, yeah. Because I think by the time his career is done, I think the numbers are going to justify it. And he's been one of the better players of the last 10 or so years. And that's another thing I think people will factor into, plus his international success. So, yeah, I do think he gets in.
Anthony?
Again, this is what I struggle with. I mean, if we say Tavares and Giroux are in with over 1,000 points and no cup, I mean, Giroux's going to have over 1,000 points, maybe sniff 500 goals, and he has a Stanley Cup. So if you say they're in, how could you say no to him? So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with him. So, but I mean, almost like by default, I have to say yeah on Marchand.
See, this is where we were hoping to get more no's on this. Originally, yeah, we were kind of conflicted on that. He was but one thing that's going to help Marchand too, no major awards right there, but just looking at a quick look at the last few years with him, 2017, 12th in Selke voting, 2018, 10th, 2019, 16th, 9th, 12th in 2022.
Yeah, and Marchand also won a Stanley Cup, so that definitely helps as well. I think he will get in. I think he will.
Yeah. And by the way, one reason why he doesn't finish higher, Phil, or maybe you could say the reason why he did is because Patrice Bergeron was on that line and he was the one winning those awards.
Yeah, it's kind of tough when you play with a guy that's won 6 Selkies. Oh,
yeah.
Shit. 6.
I mean, it's incredible, but that's how good he was. Although, since we have one more second, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Marchand open the scoring in Game 7 of the 2011 games versus Boston?
You know what? I remember the first goal on Luongo was a real bad one, if I remember correctly. I think the first goal was that real stinker that he let up, and he just kind of lost his composure from there.
I know Marchand had a short-handed goal.
I honestly, I think it may have been him. I'm not 110% sure. I'm actually trying to look that up. But
Bergeron got the game winner. Marchand got the second one. And Marchand's was even strength. Bergeron's second was a shorty, and then Marchand unassisted to finish the scoring.
Speaking of Hall, Bergeron is definitely going in. That's beyond the shadow of a doubt.
Oh, he's easy in.
He's easily
block. Getting in. Let's go to this one right here. I think this one's a no-brainer for me, so I'll start it off. Anze Kopitar, 1,373 games, 419 goals, 792 assists, 1,211 points, a 2-time Selke Trophy winner, 2-time Lady Byng, and a 5-time All-Star. I think it's a no-brainer. I think he's in. I think he's in right now. I'm saying, yeah, to Anze Kopitar. Because, I mean, obviously we know Drew Doughty's going in. But this guy literally is one of the best defensive forwards
ever.
And I'm putting him in. Phil?
Yeah, as Anthony is putting in the chat, 2 Stanley Cups as well. Yeah. And if you look at his playoff performances, they're some pretty good numbers, especially in the years that he won. 20 points in each of their 2 Stanley Cup winning runs. Yeah, I know Rangers fans don't want to hear that. And I don't like saying it either. But actually, here's the craziest part. In both of those runs, he led the postseason in scoring. 20 points and 26 points. 80 points in 97 games total. So, but yes, Anze Kopitar is absolutely in. He became the 5th player in NHL history to score 90 or more points and win a Selke trophy in the same season.
Yeah.
Do you understand how good, and I don't think most people do, but you have to understand how good you have to be at both ends of the ice to score 90 points and then also be considered the league's best defensive forward in the same year. Like, that's insane. You just put it this way. The second highest scorer on the team that year was Drew Doughty, I think, with 61 points. Like, when the second highest player in your team is no knock at Doughty, who was a very good offensive defenseman in his day. But he didn't have a lot of firepower up front. The third highest scorer was Dustin Brown. And again, not a knock at Dustin Brown, but he was more like he would have been a second liner on most championship caliber teams. But Kopitar was doing this night in, night out with little to no help offensively. He didn't have a stacked team around him doing this, and he was that good. The only other players to achieve this matter and scoring 90 points and winning a Selke are Troy Murray, who was the first in 1986 for Chicago, and he played with Dennis Savard, so that was part of it.
Yeah, didn't he get to 100?
No, 99.
Okay.
One short. And then the first player to break the 100-point mark was Doug Gilmour in 92-93, and he had 120 points, over 120 points, I should say, and won the Selke. And then Sergei Fedorov did it twice in the span of 3 seasons in 94 and 96. And that 94 season may be the best all-around season we've ever seen from a player. 56 goals, 120 points, Selke, and a heart. So this is – and Pavel Datsyuk, who did it 2 years in a row.
Pavel Datsyuk could almost do anything.
And Pavel Datsyuk won 3 Selke trophies and is probably the greatest mastermind pickpocketer that we've ever seen in hockey.
Well, you got to love what Kopitar brought to the game. By the way, Phil, speaking about being a Ranger fan and watching the 2014 finals, at least you didn't have to hear, what a play by Filkowski and a goal scored. Filkowski scores. Filkowski does this. No, you didn't have to hate your last name because all I heard was Williams. I'm going, oh, God, I never want to hear Williams ever again. Justin Williams won the MVP that year. Oh, geez. Or the Conn Smythe, I should say.
Dan Girardi falling down in overtime, game 1.
Yeah, but look, I still say Tim Peel. I don't know what he was thinking in game 2, but that's a different story.
No, we don't talk about that name that you're about to mention.
All right, and Phil, one last one that we had was Roman Josi. 909 games played, 181 goals, 505 assists, 686 points, a plus 85. He's won 1 Norris. I'll argue he should have won 2. That's a different story. And 3-time All-Star. Phil, Roman Josi, is he in the Hall of Fame?
I think he's going to get in. I'm not sure if it's a first ballot. If he wins another Norris, I would say he's first ballot. But he's won a Norris. He has 2 other runner-ups, first runner-up finishes. He has 2 other finishes in the top 5. And 2 other finishes within the top 10. So, I mean, for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons, he's been a top 10 defenseman in the NHL, and he's won a Norris. So, yeah, and he's got almost set. He's going to crack the 700-point mark next year. He'll probably finish his career with, I would say, if he's at 686 right now, he has a shot at 1,000. I mean, he's 34. He just turned 34 in June. He's probably got at least 3-4 good years left.
Mm-hmm.
He may not hit 1,000, but I don't know if he's going to need 1,000 to get in. I really don't. And he's another one. I mean, you got to look at. I mean, due to the fact that he plays for Switzerland, he's not going to have a whole lot of golds, if you will. But silver medal at the World Championships in 2013, 2018, and 2024. And he got a silver cup or a silver medal, for the World Cup of Hockey in Toronto. So, I mean, he's a consistent silver medalist in the international stage, considering that he's not playing on great teams, and he's been a standout on all of those teams.
Phil, I got to marvel at this because he has 686 points. That's where he's sitting at right now. In the last 3 seasons, he's put about a third of it up there with 240 points. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's 30. He's going to be 34 this season, but he's got some good years left. And now Nationals, they're looking like they're trying to explode and go for it and be more of an offensive team, which is surprising because Barry Trotz was like the king of the defensive teams for years. And why don't I throw this stat out at you too? Among Swiss-born players, Yossi is number 1, 686 in points. Do you know what 2 New York Islanders are after him? One, both of them are former, but one is a current New York Islander. Sorry, I mean a current active player. Current active player.
Wait, current active Swiss player?
Yeah, one not active, one active. They both played for the New York Islanders.
Frans Nielsen is Danish. Swiss player.
One of them was just signed elsewhere as a free agent.
Jeez. Niederreiter.
There you go. Nino Niederreiter. There we go. And Wicked's got them both. So the non-active former New York Islander.
How long ago were we talking?
10 years ago. Maybe closer to 15.
So within the last 15 years.
Former Montreal Canadian.
Oh, Mark Streit.
There you go. Mark Streit was the other one. So, I mean, back in the days of, what was it, Straight and Strite that they had on the Islanders? So, yeah, I mean, I wish we could have had at least one Hall no, but there's the thing about hockey is there's so many ways to get in there that, I mean, some of these guys might have to wait a little bit. And Music is right about that.
What, top 15 all time in points?
For D-men.
Wow.
Well, actually, 15? I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know if he's going to be up that high.
Yeah, let me refresh that before we move on and do some bar talk. But
I was about to say I don't think he's gonna.
Scoring leaders, D-men.
Actually, no. You know what? Number 15 right now, all time, is Gary Suter with 844 points. So he could make that. I mean, there is a chance. No, Music is actually right.
Nice. Yeah, and he's at 30, but he'll jump. Look, he puts it together. like a season 2 years ago, he'll be moving up that list pretty quickly. So, Gary Suter, by the way, I can't help but think about it. You said only 850?
844.
844.
And that was a guy who had a 90-point season once.
And he had a great career. He had a
Yeah,
really
he did.
great
If he would have won a Stanley Cup, I think he would have been a surefire lock. I'm surprised he's not in, actually.
Yeah, but another great American defenseman that we could always put down throughout the years. But we got a lot more coming at you guys because we're going to go around the NHL with Bar Talk first. We got to have a quick message from DraftKings. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Their apology. They can shut their.
I used the wrong one.
Shot. This is the easiest I've heard to answer.
I say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. We're getting closer to showing the final buzzer again, Phil. I mean, see, you know what? These are when the gaffes, when they happen, guys. This is the reason why we have this. I'm the only reason why we have that. So, but it's just wow. Although we are getting closer to Phil doing a final buzzer again. I can't wait for that because hell, we had a great time doing it during the postseason, and we're going to be doing more of that. But we are right now at Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, everybody, where we gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. You buying around and you're that confident, so have a beer or, oh, God, I need a shot. Play along in the comments down below. And, of course, everybody, remember Big Apple Hockey shirts and trucker hats are available. And I'm going to give away some of the shirts next week as well in our fan appreciation week. So, Phil, usually I start out with a topic on the New York teams. However, I'm going to start out with a renegotiation that's happening right now because Jeremy Swayman is 79, 33, and 15 in his career, 234 save percentage, and a 919. That's the save percentage, 919 save percentage, 234 goals against. Anyway, rumor is that he's asking for $10 million a season AAV. Jeremy Swayman's worth $10 million right now.
Shot, absolute shot. Why? Where did this guy get the idea that he's worth $10 million from? Where does he get this? Like, I really want to know because there's nothing about his career that screams $10 million goaltender. Like, dude, you've won a total of 79 games over 4 seasons. 79 games. Your career save percentage is nice. Your goals against is nice. But $10 million? What have you done to deserve that? 23, 14, and 3. 24, 6, and 4. 25, 10, and 8. And he hasn't been, aside from last year where he played 44 games, or actually, no, he started 43 of them. Sorry. He hasn't been the lion's share of he hasn't been the starter. He hasn't taken the lion's share of the games. I'm sorry, but this is a shot. Anybody who gives him $10 million, you sealed your own fate. Sorry, but you sealed your own fate.
Yeah, Phil, 100% on this one. I think he can be. He can be worth it someday. First things first, you got to prove you're a starting goalie in the NHL. This is an absolute shot. He's going to jump from, I think it's in his career high as far as games played isn't even over 50 yet. You got to break that 50 plateau. You got to know they got to know you could be an everyday goaltender. And I know I'm kind of speaking like a dinosaur a little bit on this because we're in the age of tandems, but if you're going to be paying him $10 million, you're not paying him to play 50 games. You're paying him to play 65. And if not more than that. I mean, the days of a goalie playing 70 are done. We're never going to see that again. But it better be in the 60s. It better be on Alexander Georgiev workload because look at Alexander Georgiev. I mean, you put his workload up there. I mean, his numbers have been uneven at times. Like, I mean, I give him a little bit more credit. He's turned into a solid goalie with Colorado. It's just there's other times where he hasn't looked that great. But back to Swayman. No, you're not worth $10 million yet. Sign a short-term deal, prove you could do it, then ask for the money. Because one reason why a lot of Ranger fans have to look at it is Swayman's contract is important to Shesterkin's next deal.
Yes. Oh, that's the thing.
That is actually the topic.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to go around to it because he could look at it and say, well, if this guy got $10 million, then why shouldn't I?
Phil, I'm gonna go easy round on that one too, because here's the thing. You said it you said it best right there. Oh my goodness. If you're paying Jeremy Swayman $10 million now, how much is Shesterkin worth? Because he is putting up those numbers and in the games played. And especially in the playoffs. Look, no, a rising tide floats all boats. That's what they always say. But, Phil, this is something that Ranger fans are going to have to look at. And especially Chris Drury and, especially Shesterkin's agent. So a big story that happened this week, Phil, Winnipeg traded for they traded away Rutger McGroarty to Pittsburgh for Brandon Yeager.
Braden
Yeager.
You spelled it right, but you said
right.
the wrong name.
Spelled it right. This is what happens. Don't talk too fast, everybody. Because I already had two mess ups in this. Anyway, Rutger McGroarty at Michigan, 75 games, 34 goals. He had 91 points in those last 2 years. But McGroarty will make an impact with the Penguins starting this year.
Beer. I really not sure. I mean, there is a spot for him to make that team. I don't know. Like, all right. So one thing I got to ask is, what are we talking about impact here? Like, let's elaborate on this. What do you mean by that?
Okay. I guess teams have to start game planning for him. Like, he's
definitely a shot then.
Yeah. Like that.
I mean, game planning for him? Like, all
right. Let me clarify where I'm going with that. He actually could be an adequate replacement for Jake Gensel. How about that?
No, that's definitely a shot.
Okay.
That's absolutely a shot. I think we're moving the goalposts a little too much here.
All right. Would you say a 20-goal season would be an impact?
Yeah, I would say that's an impact.
Okay. Do you think he could get
20-goal, 40-point season? Yeah, that's an impact. That's a good rookie year. I'm gonna say beer.
Okay.
Because it could happen. I do wonder if he. I mean, I think they have to sign him to an ELC. I'm not sure if he's signed. I would have to look that up. But because he's a college player, so That, excuse me, that is something that could maybe prohibit.
By the way, also credit to McGroarty for basically letting Winnipeg know they could trade him. And Winnipeg made out pretty good in this year. Braden Yeager, pretty good player.
Oh no, he is signed to an ELC. Okay, he was just signed.
I thought he was.
Yeah, they just signed him. So yeah, $950K for the next 3 years. But yeah, that would mean that, I mean, he's 20, so he could go down to the AHL if he doesn't stick. But yeah, I could, if we're talking about 20 goals, 40 points. Yeah, it's possible. I don't know if he will for sure, but it's definitely possible.
I mean, I like his numbers as far as what he produced in Michigan. I like that he looks like he's NHL size. I think I looked up. I saw 6'1" and 200. I'm just gonna
like 6'6", 200 pounds. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Now there are some scouts that I know that they weren't sold on him. They had questions, but if he can step in, and like I said at the beginning of this, there's a spot next to Sidney Crosby. And Sidney Crosby has had guys that have been in that spot that either they put him on there with superstars like Marian Hossa, or then you get a guy like Chris Kunitz that's on there and puts up numbers that blew away what Crosby did with Hossa. Gensel wasn't exactly a household name, and then he goes for Crosby, bang, he ends up being great. And Gensel is a good player in his own right. Don't get me wrong. But then again, you get guys that they tried to force on the wing with Crosby. Daniel Sprong is one of the ones that come to mind that you're like, all right, that looks like a guy that could benefit from that. Daniel Sprong found his game. He's a good player, but he wasn't a first line guy. I can't remember the KHL guy that I drafted in my fantasy league like 6 years ago, or even 7. But try to remember who it was. I thought for sure he was going to be exploding with the Penguins. I don't know if it was with Crosby or Malkin that he had a spot. I'll remember the name soon enough. But if you could do that, or just find your role. But McGroarty was the captain, Team USA junior team. The kid can play. Let's see if he can do it.
He's a player. I think he's a future top 6 player. I wonder where he fits in, but I mean, to me, I think he seems like the type of guy that is going to be a core player for your team. I don't know if he's going to be the best Pittsburgh Penguin in the future, but that's, I think, somebody that they're going to be building around. I think he kind of plays like a Swiss Army knife. He's got skill. He's physical. He's good at both ends of the rink. He's a leader. I think he's a good player. So I do, whether or not, like I said, if he plays with Crosby this year and they click, who knows? But I'm going to say Beer just for now, because it's really tough to find rookies that are 30 plus goal, 90 plus or 80 plus point players anymore. I mean, Kaprizov probably would have been an almost 80-point rookie during his rookie year in 2021, but it's very hard to come across these guys.
And that's why I'm going to go Beer on this one too. And again, I guess the word impact, I got to clarify a little bit more and not be so vague on that, Phil. But yeah, it's one of those things. I do think this guy, mentioning that he was a captain, I think he'll find his role at the NHL level. He'll ask like, what can you expect of me? Just on the side note, do you like that he kind of said, hey, it didn't feel right in Winnipeg when he said that? It's just that was one of the things he said. But then again, being a college player, he could have played one more year of college, waited it out, and been a free agent. So he kind of did right by Winnipeg too, by letting them know, and that way Winnipeg can get back Braden Yeager. So
yeah, we'll see what happens with him. I think, like I said, I was very impressed with the World Juniors. But yeah, I think that he's going to be a very good player for a while.
Well, one guy who was a star at the NCAA level, Boston University, a matter of fact, Mike Greer has done quite a job remaking the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks last week, I believe it was Friday, acquired Yaroslav Oskarov, Nolan Burke, and a third-round pick from Nashville for David Enstrom, Magnus Corona, and Vegas's first round 2025 lottery protected pick. Phil, Mike Greer has done a tremendous job since joining the San Jose Sharks.
I'm going to say Beer just because I think he's done well. I think tremendous is a bit much. I mean, the Askarov deal, they gave up quite a bit to get him. And I get they're looking for a young, what they believe to be franchise-type goaltender.
Mm-hmm.
But goaltending trades are so hard to make, and goaltenders usually don't have much value because of the fact that goaltenders are volatile. And depending on the team in front and the system and the goaltending coaching, it's hit or miss. It's very hit or miss. So, I mean, I really wasn't a big fan of giving up that much for Askarov. I didn't think that he had that much value. I love the return for Nashville. They get the equivalent of 2 first-round picks because Edstrom was the 32nd pick in 2023, the last pick in the first round. And then you're getting another pick in 2025, which if both Vegas and San Jose, if their picks both fall within top 10, Nashville gets to choose, San Jose gets to choose which one they send to Nashville, the lower of the two. So, yeah, I don't know if I really like this trade for San Jose as much as I like it for Nashville. The Celebrini pick is a no-brainer. I can't really say that their drafting has been like amazing because it's all high picks.
Yeah,
it's all high picks, and it's time. I mean, Dickinson looks like it could be good. Chernyshov looks like their first 3 picks look pretty good in this year's draft between Celebrini, Dickinson, and Chernyshov. And then, they get Will Smith and Quentin Musty. I like Kasper Haltunen. That's not a bad pick at all. Philip Biestat. But then again, Greer wasn't there for that. So Greer really hasn't been there long enough to say that, like, he's – I don't know. I'm just going to go Beer just because I think that he's done okay. I think tremendous is – that's a lot to say for a guy like that. That's only kind of been here only for a little bit so far. I mean, he became July 5th, 2022. He became the general manager of Sharks.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't there for the 2022 draft. I mean, it's the last 2 drafts. The drafts have been okay. I mean, he actually got a halfway decent return for Erik Karlsson. I mean, good on him to get rid of that contract.
Ugh.
Yeah, good on him to get rid of that. And then he got rid of Brent Burns as well. So I like the fact that he's really trying to turn a new leaf here and rebuild and get younger. But I'm not super impressed with him, but I don't think he's been terrible either. He's just kind of in between for me.
I'm going with that. He has done a tremendous job, and I think I went with Beer. That this has been reshaping this team they were basically in cap hell under Doug Wilson. They were saddled with huge contract after huge contract. You didn't know exactly what was going to be out of them. Now their biggest contract on the books. Let me just make sure it is Logan Couture. Yeah, it's Logan Couture. And you got Mark-Edward Vlasic, who is completely immovable. And he's almost out from under both of those contracts. He had the Burns contract he had to move, and Burns still had a couple years left in him. He had the Carlson deal, which boggled our minds when they signed him to that anyway. The Hurdle deal looks like that could really benefit him. And when you stockpile enough assets, you can overpay. Because I'll tell you what, Phil, if they end up hitting on Yaroslav Askarov, then nothing matters. Then this is now the biggest deal for this franchise. They have not had a franchise goaltender. Ugh. Do we want to go all the way back to Evgeny Nabokov? I mean, Anthony Niemi was okay with the Sharks. You had Martin Jones, who had maybe 1.5 good seasons, and they've been kind of running in place. Now they're tearing it down. It had to be teared down to the studs. That's the thing. And I think sometimes the guy that has to tear it down, he doesn't get the credit. But I think he's done a great job with this one. Hey, Phil, let's go to just a couple other ones real quick. First, we'll stay in the NHL with the Jack Adams odds right now for Coach of the Year next year. FanDuel has the favorite being Sheldon Keefe, and then Travis Green at plus 800. Sheldon Keefe plus 700. Andrew Burnett plus 900. And then all the way back is John Cooper and Spencer Carberry at 1,700. Phil, Keefe should be the front runner for Coach of the Year.
Shot? How is this the case?
I know. I'm trying to figure this one out too.
I really want to know what the reasoning is behind this. This guy just got fired by Toronto. Toronto is a better team than New Jersey was. So New Jersey goes and gets a couple of good defensemen, decent defensemen in Pesci and Gillen. They go and get Markstrom, who's like leap year. They're hoping on Timo Meier to get back to form. Jack Hughes to stay healthy. Luke Hughes to improve on a 47-point rookie season. Very impressive offensively, but needs a lot of work on defense. I get there's potential there for them to be a team that's going to compete for the division title. But how is Sheldon Keefe the odds-on favorite when he had better talent in Toronto and couldn't get the job done? I don't even want to hear it. Their top four is by far better than the Devils' top four. It's not even close. You have a guy that has scored 180 150 goals over the last 3 years, and is the best goal scorer in the league right now. He's on pace to chase. He's got better numbers than Alexander Ovechkin has goal scoring wise through the same point in their careers. Do people realize that about Austin Matthews? Then you have Mitch Marner, who's a guy that's good for 90 plus points a year and is one of the better defensive wings in the league. Then you have John Tavares and William Nylander, who has broken out into a superstar over these last couple of years. How are we talking about so Keith leaves that, and provided their defense wasn't great, their goaltending wasn't great either, and New Jersey's defense is probably better of a unit than that one is. But how is it that he's leaving that team for the Devils? And it's maybe lateral right now, but how is it that he's the head? Where's Laviolette in this?
Oh, nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found. Somehow.
No, because I only had it up to the plus 1,700.
How? Okay. Andrew Burnett's in Nashville. Okay, I get it. They made some improvements this year. They brought in some talent. I get it. Travis Green.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Knobloch, I understand it because you got McDavid and Draisaitl. You're going to be right there, especially with the way that they played when he came in and took over. I just wonder if that type of momentum can carry over into next year, because that team I don't know if they've improved enough. Hines?
Yeah,
Really?
that was
Tournier?
boggling my mind on that one.
Carberry? John
Yeah.
Cooper, I totally understand. John Cooper is one of the greatest coaches of this entire generation.
Still hasn't won a Coach of the Year award.
Crazy how he hasn't, but he's one of the best. And he's a 2-time Stanley Cup winner. And I believe he's also got international gold as well. But you know what? Yeah, I just don't see it with this. I really don't. Berube too, another one. New team.
You know who else isn't on here? Rick Tocchet,
The guy that actually won it.
the guy that won it last year.
Like how?
Yeah,
Like
so
it's
Phil, you went shot on this, right?
I'm going shot on this.
Yeah, all
Absolute
right.
Shot.
Because I got to tell you, Phil, let's say right now, the New Jersey Devils finish second or win the division. Who's winning the award on this? The executive. That's the way it's set up right now. Without any, the coach needs to come have some adversity because all the players getting healthy again. It's sort of set up a little bit for Keefe to do well and get the Devils back in the playoffs, challenge the Rangers for the top of the division, and everything looks good. Everything looks fantastic. But if he messes up slightly, he ain't getting anything near Coach of the Year. And you look at this and you go, I get it, but also I don't at the same time. No Laviolette, who basically went through a fourth, he had no third line for at least half the season last year.
He had no third and fourth line.
Yeah, and that too. The amount of pressure that he had to put on his top two lines and the specialty teams. Rick Tocchet, who actually did such a great job. Look, Brunette's up there. Okay, that's fine. But is he going to be Coach of the Year too? Because right now, that's almost the same situation when you bring in Stamkos, Marchessault, Brady Shea. There you go. There's you like.
Yeah, I mean it's almost like some of these coaches are their predisposition to be able to get those nominations because of the fact that all the guys that the front office brought in to help this team out. And then, like you said, with Hamilton being healthy for the Devils, if Hamilton stays healthy and these new additions play somewhat well, then that puts Keefe right there. But is it really Keefe? Could they have done the same thing if Lindy Ruff stayed and everyone was healthy? I would ask the question too. That I ask.
That being said, by the way, the guy that put the money on right now, and I'm gonna butcher his name completely, would be Torgny. How do I pronounce that?
Andre Tournier.
Tournier, thank you. Because I've never read it. So oops. Anyway, but he's the Utah coach.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I would take him right now because that would fit a Coach of the Year thing. Team that's not in the playoffs, making the playoffs. They make a couple of roster moves. And again, Utah, by the way, Utah's going to get a bump by not being in Arizona. Sorry to everybody in Arizona. And a matter of fact, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Yeah, if Jack Hughes is healthy, is it really the coach? And that's the problem.
And by the way, just to say for everybody else that might be thinking it, you might go, well, you got Nico Hischier. He might win a Selke Award. Yeah,
one.
So can Mitch Marner and so can Austin Matthews. So it's one of those things where you go, well, he's a better defensive team. Is he? So we'll find that one out. And Phil, let me go with the last one for you because I think this story is amazing. But Zdeno Chara completed an Ironman competition in 10 hours and 40 minutes and 48 seconds at age 47. He's competed in 8 marathons over the last 2 years. And everybody marveled about the shape he was in. Zdeno Chara is the best athlete to ever play in the NHL. I know it's a little bit of a vague question.
Yeah, this is very vague and subjective, Mark. I don't know how you really even answer this.
It's difficult. I do have to say this. At 6'9", you didn't think he would make it as a 6'9" or 6'7"? 6'9", right?
So, I mean, the one thing that I can really answer you with is that Jaromir Jagr is still playing professional hockey, albeit at a lower level in the Czech Extra League in his 50s.
Which, by the way, they should put him in the Hall
Played
of Fame
hockey
anyway.
in 4 different decades. Or 5. I'm sorry, 6 different decades. The 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and 90s. He played in a game in the 90s.
Yeah, he played an IHL game, played one shift, and skated around for a second. So
yeah, I understand, but it's still he got on there. But
yeah, he was still in the NHL in his 50s though.
Yes, in 1980. So
still amazing. That's amazing.
And he had 40 points that year. But it's I don't know. I you know what? I'm not even going to give you an answer. This is an incomplete because there's no quantifiable way to even say this because there are so many different athletes that have done so many different things and have played at different ages that you can marvel. Marc Messier was putting up 40 points in a bottom 6 role with the Rangers in his up until 42, 43 years old.
Yeah, I think it was 42.
It was 40. I think his last year, he turned 43 during his last year in 2004. January of 2004, he turned 43. That was his last year. I mean, that's from Jay. Yeah, we play hockey together, and yes, it's rough to be able to play at that age. And you know what? Char doing what he's doing at his age in Ironman competition is great, but I can't quantify that to hockey.
Yeah, it's so hard to quantify it. Basically, I just wanted to talk about it in some way. So, there's other things because after all, Phil, what's one thing we were told in the 2000s? Who was the greatest athlete playing goal? Rick DiPietro. And then suddenly he makes one move. A lot of writers said that. A lot of analysts. He's the best athlete that plays goal.
I don't know about that. I don't know where he got
We'll go back and we'll rewind that. I could get it in history. A lot of people said that. I always heard about it all the time. But but that's one of those things that sometimes just being an athlete isn't enough. You have to have the brains to do it. And there's lots of guys. The league is littered with guys that had all the talent in the world and no brains. And you got guys that had all the brains and no talent. So it's when you got them both and you can put them together. And of course, I'm always reminded of the comment from Matt Cohen about Sidney Crosby, which is he has a Hall of Fame talent, but the work ethic of a fourth liner trying to make the team. That's what it takes, dedication. And you know something? But you look at what Zdeno Chara has done: 8 marathons, an Ironman. He's 47 years old. That's a year older than me. And as Jay just said right there, I die the day after a Ranger game or whatever, a K-Stars game. So I'm looking forward to getting back into shape again. But I mean, Zdeno Chara does not have those. And guys, that is the end of Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk. We gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. So let's do a little bit of name this player, Phil. I think you're going to get 2 of them fairly easy. I tried to be a little bit more difficult, and one of them might be a little bit more difficult for you. I think you're going to go 3 for 3. You ready?
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to go present, share screen, and here we go. We'll go with the easy one first. This guy played for the New York Islanders and the New Jersey Devils. He actually appeared in the Stanley Cup Finals for the New Jersey Devils. And he started with Nashville and Minnesota.
Nashville, Minnesota. He was in the finals for the Devils. Marek Zhidlicki.
That is correct. Marek Zhidlicki. Didn't get a chance to.
If you would have said he was a Rangers prospect, that probably would have gotten it even sooner.
Yeah, I was trying not to let you do. I was trying to avoid that one. Back on the cam right there. Let's see. presents. Don't know why I'm having so much trouble with this at the moment, but here we go. Let's go with another former Islander and former Devil. And here's his numbers right there. Started with the San Jose Sharks, then the Florida Panthers, went to the Devils, the
Victor
Islanders.
Kozlov.
It is Victor Kozlov.
Yeah, I could tell by the career path.
Yeah, and there's his numbers right there, his name.
Played with Pavel Bure in Florida for like 3 seasons before, or for almost 4 seasons before Bure got traded to the Rangers. It's like the line, I believe, was him, Ray Whitney, and Pavel Bure together. Bure was just incredible, man. Still, I say, best goal scorer I think I've ever seen with Bure. What he did with the little talent around him was unbelievable.
Yeah, and you could say he was a little bit of a goal hanger, but yeah, he was incredible with what he was able to do. And here's the last one for you. Started with the LA Kings, then went to the New York Rangers, Minnesota North Stars, back to the Rangers, and then finished again with the LA Kings. And that season, 89-90. No, that was a full season. He was over there, and then they traded him back to the Rangers. Well, it was 15 games with the North Stars.
What's it? The Kings. It was King. And he was dealt to the Rangers in 87, 88. Got dealt to Minnesota in 89, 88, 89. Then got dealt back to the Rangers. What was there?
If I told you he's a defenseman, does that help?
Mark Hardy?
Ding, 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 ding.
Wow.
Oh, that was a shot in the dark on that one, huh?
Yeah, you know what? I thought that he was one of the names that was coming up, and the reason why I thought I didn't want to say him at first was because I knew he was a King, and then he went to the Rangers. But the North Stars trade was what really threw me off. I remember him as King, Ranger, and then King.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really where, like, the North Stars one threw me completely off. Honestly, I would have guessed him earlier if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, the North Stars thing did throw me off when I was doing it, and I was just looking through, going, thinking about the people from the Sega Genesis days of.
I was just going to say, one of the reasons I remember Mark Hardy is because I think in NHL PA 93, he's like the lowest. Him and Norman Rochefort are the two lowest rated defensemen on the team, and Norman Rochefort's rating. Mind you, Norman Rochefort was regarded as one of the better defensive defensemen in the 80s, and he was a part of Team Canada's Canada Cup team in 1987. So that goes to show you how good he actually was. But like in NHL PA 93, I think his rating was like a 10 out of 100.
Yeah, he was.
Mark Hardy's was like a 30 or something like that, if I remember correctly. And that's why I was like, wait, these guys are so bad in this game. And then later on, you grow up to realize, like, oh, wait, this guy played a long time in the NHL. It was actually halfway decent at one point, too.
And I got to tell you, Phil, it's one of those things that I just think about with Poised for Glory, that old thing back in the day. where I think it was game 5 of the Capital series that he's the one that scored the game tying goal that forced overtime. And then the Rangers or whatever, the third period, they had the game tying goal, and then the Rangers lost in 5 to the Capitals. And that's what happens when you lose Brian Leach. I was surprised they were able to win a round. Never mind more than that. But all right. So, guys, we had Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk and a little bit of that. Phil, do you want to do a quick Buck Doku, or you just want to, because running a little bit long here?
I'm going to have to get dinner. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, let's cut it off right there. We got a lot of talk in here today. And by the way, this is again my cousin's song 12 years ago yesterday. So I gotta actually put this up for link. But guys, thank you very much for joining us. Big Apple Hockey today, and we'll just see you next week with another quality show. The season getting closer. I think we're 3 weeks away from training camp, Phil.
Training camp, I believe, should begin around the 15th, if I remember correctly.
Still wonder about what's the next RFA domino that's going to fall, but we'll get to that soon enough.
So Rangers, where's it at? I want to see maybe if it shows in the app.
And
Jason,
thank you guys. All right.
So the preseason begins on the 22nd. So I'd imagine training camp will probably begin at least a week before that.
Well, yeah, and can't wait for all that.
Yeah, it's ODR time, baby. ODR time.
Yeah, we're gonna be getting back to the rink soon enough. I gotta get back on a bike. Anyway, guys, thank you very much, and we will talk to you next Wednesday.